Hello, hi.
Hello,
made
Jen.
It is day 5, Friday night. It is our final night of Seek Week, and we've got. This is the busiest house we've had all week. So I'm here. My name is Jean Brown. I'm here with my podcast co-host and Seek Safely's board president, Dr. Glenn Patrick Doyle. We've got Seek's founder and my mom, Ginny Brown, with us, and we have our good friend Anne Peterson with us. And we thought it would be nice to have Anne here because we are talking tonight about what's next for Seek, kind of our short-term goals, what we're planning for 2026, as well as, kind of long-term goals and what we see for Seek in the future. So thank you for everyone who has joined us. We have had some very dedicated supporters who have been with us every single night. And I'm so grateful to you guys. It actually, it kind of gets me choked up a little bit. It's just amazing to know that you care about us and you care about our mission so much that you've given us every night of your week this week. So thank you all. Hi, everyone. How you doing? How you feeling?
Good. Feeling okay.
I am feeling great. I have my C4 energy drink that and I know Anne was very concerned about my energy drink consumption, but we gotta be sharp because we're talking about the future tonight, gang.
We are talking. I put a little message on Facebook, 15 minutes ago, and I was like, we're gonna be on talking about the future.
You remember the old Conan O'Brien bit when he would go, in the year 2000?
Yeah. That's so good.
The year 2000 was 25 years ago, guys.
No, it wasn't.
Guys.
It was 2 years ago.
No.
Jean, what were you doing in the year 2000?
I actually remember exactly where I was when New Year, on that New Year's Eve night. I was working at my sister Kate's restaurant at the time, and her husband at the time, he wanted to go home and get changed so he could kind of party, like the New Year's party after having the dinner service that night. So I was driving him back between his apartment and the restaurant.
There you go.
And we were like, Happy New Year.
The year 2000. Anne, what were you doing in the year 2000?
I hosted a dinner party with all my fancy dishes and everything, lobster, caviar, steak, the whole thing. And we made all of our teenage, young adult kids, everybody had to stay at home. So our way of compensating was to throw this big party. And one part of the house was dedicated to the young adults and the other part to the real adults. And then we had a fabulous dinner. Yeah, we had a fabulous dinner. And then I promptly gave myself food poisoning the next morning when I walked by a table and I went, oh, look at this caviar, and put some in my mouth.
No.
Sat out all night like an idiot.
Oh my gosh.
And then I spent the new year 2000 when we all didn't go up into space or, die or whatever was supposed to happen. I spent it very sick and understanding.
That's right, though. The Y2K event was supposed to
happen. Yeah, that was Y2K.
That's right. That was Y2K.
Yeah.
Y2K.
Yeah. One of the many times in which the gurus of our world said that it was coming to an end.
It was supposed to come to an end.
We did not get raptured a few weeks ago.
I know. It was supposed to come to an end the other week. Man,
that one came out of nowhere. Where does that one come from?
Oh, that one had a funny backstory. That one was, I had to finally look it up because I was like, why is everybody on Facebook talking about a rapture? And anyway, yeah, some pastor in Africa had a vision, and then it very quickly, and he put it on, socials. Or I love John Atack said on a pod the other day, he calls it the anti-socials. Anyway, now, which I thought was hilarious, but he puts it up on the socials, and people started making fun of it, and that's what spread it.
And that gave traction.
Days, it was a thing. It was a meme, everywhere. We're all being raptured, or we're not being raptured. And what does it mean if you are, and if you aren't? And does it really matter what underwear you're wearing? There was
good point. Well, the Mormons would say yes, right? The Mormons say it always matters what underwear you're wearing.
Exactly.
That's
you should always be prepared.
You should always be prepared. Spoken like a mom, Ginny.
Mm-hmm.
Right. What were you and George doing in the year 2000?
We were also at the restaurant celebrating Y2K.
There you go.
It was great. It was a beautiful, beautiful evening. We had a great time.
Yeah,
Kirby
it
was
was
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
It was a real good party.
It was a good party. Yep.
So in the year 2000, I was at
Okay.
the,
So
I was
now,
I was at the University of Missouri, Kansas City, finishing up my psychology undergraduate degree,
Mhm.
and on the fence what I wanted to do as a career, because on the one hand, I mean, of course, I was kind of destined to go and to be a psychologist, but what I actually kind of wanted to do was to be a hypnotherapist.
Mm.
That was like when I got interested in, because I was my head was full of all this self-help stuff, all this NLP stuff. And I thought, golly, maybe I'm going to be one of these guys that hypnotizes folks to walk over hot coals, and I could do that. And then I thought, they don't actually have a license for hypnotherapists, but I could be a psychologist, and my dad would have to call me doctor. So that kind of made the decision. Yeah.
so Glenn, George has a certificate in hypnotherapy.
Does he really?
And he does.
I think I knew that. Yeah.
And
yeah.
he did hypnotherapy, helping people get through test anxiety,
There you go.
stop smoking,
There you go.
minor surgeries without anesthesia.
Nice.
Yeah.
This whole time we should have had George on here, kind of lulling everybody into a state of complacency, and you know what, we're joking about that, but Gene and I think we talked about this on the podcast. We know of a self-help guru who did that, who would like do guided meditations, no joke, and like as part of like the guided meditation would be like, and then you're going to sign up for my next course, like just as one example of like exploitative stuff.
Yes.
Anyway.
Yes,
So
that's happened in many camps.
Wasn't L. Ron super into hypno?
He's very, you betcha he
one of
was,
his
yes.
things. Now that I'm over the fact that I was in Scientology light, I'm actually now reading and studying a little bit.
Read up. I think I mentioned this on the stream the other night. There's a biography of L. Ron called The Barefaced Messiah, which is amazing. It's really, really good. I blank on the author, but it's good. Anyway, so that's the past.
So where are we going, guys?
Where are we going?
How about we can't be stuck in the past? We've been accused of that before, so time to move on to the future. So one thing, as I was kind of making a list of, okay, what are our priorities? One thing I will mention very right off the top is we talked, Glenn, you actually brought up the compass a number of times this week, our Seek Safely Compass tool, which we've been talking about for a few years, because we put that together. It was kind of more down in the pandemic time, so probably 2022, maybe 2021. And we've been trying to figure out kind of what to do with it, how to put it out there. We've run a couple of our workshops, which I think is the best way to deliver it. It's the most effective way to deliver it. But we do also want to make it available to people just so that you can see what it is and play around with it a bit. And so I think we're going to make that a priority to get it out there, at least as something that people can download from our website. And then, in a few other versions, like I think we can, do like a nice recording of how we would deliver it as a live seminar kind of thing that people might be able to download as well. So
yeah, it's a very effective tool, and Jean's daughter helped. Actually, Anne's daughter helped Jean in creating a beautiful workbook. That we're going to try to figure out a way to make that available for people to use. But doing it through some level of guidance is really helpful, because it's really a tool to help you figure out what's going to be the best kind of person or program for you, rather than having the person or program tell you who you should be. But it's first figuring out, who am I and what is going to resonate with me? it's kind of like, I've mentioned this before. As a therapist, I will say to people, when you come in here, this is a very unique relationship, the therapeutic relationship. And if you don't think I get you, or you don't think this is for you, or whatever, you need to fire me, and we'll find someone else for you to work with. And just give me 2 or 3 shots. And after that, I don't want to waste your time or your money. And I feel like that principle should also hold true for people as they're trying to improve their life. Give it a little bit of time, but don't go all in right away. Give yourself a chance to really evaluate if this meshes with you, your essential self, not just being talked into, you're a piece of crap and you need to completely renovate everything about who you are and where you've been, because that's never going to work.
Yeah. And kind of piggybacking on that, one of the real dangers that we identified, like as we thought about the self-help industry and the way that a lot of gurus operate, like from my perspective as a trauma-focused therapist, many trauma survivors come to this work with programming about how they suck and how they suck at making decisions, and that's why they need help. And there are gurus who are only too happy to reinforce that conditioning, right? And who have developed entire programs around reinforcing that conditioning. And so in developing a tool, one thing we wanted to do was give folks something that could, in a practical sense, like in a realistic, sustainable sense, break through that kind of like notice when that trick is being pulled on them. Right? Like your old programming is being preyed upon and being reinforced and exacerbated. But also kind of address this thing that we've seen over and over again, like in a lot of these trainings, retreats, LGATs, what have you. There's this sense of, like in trauma, there's this idea called depersonalization. You no longer feel like yourself. Right? That's a feature, not a glitch of the LGAT model, right? Like the LGAT, the large group awareness training model, where these big seminars and trainings and stuff, they're designed to kind of take you out of yourself. And to like in some ways that can be useful, right? Like, okay, you know what? I've been stuck in myself. Maybe I need, an experience to shake me out. It becomes a bit of a problem when you're outside of yourself, and then they're pitching a $10,000 upgrade of the seminar to you.
Yeah.
That may not be in your budget. It may not be what you need, et cetera, et cetera. So this tool is designed to, let's stay grounded in who we are while staying focused on what we're trying to do here. And it includes, the compass tool also includes points on the compass that point to not just who you are and what your values are, but what you're trying to do, what your actual goals are. It's a tremendously effective tool, I find, that enhances any self-help journey. I'm way into it. You bet.
Nice.
Can I add something to that, Glenn?
Sure.
No,
Yeah.
anyway. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Well, because I've been listening to you guys most of the week. I missed the first 2, but after that, so I don't know where it got said, but Jean said something really brilliant, as she often does, about, I think you were talking about the past. And look, I'm one of those people that spent almost 20 years telling you that the Landmark Forum would fix your problems, it would make you better in some way, shape, or form, especially if you stay engaged and you keep participating and keep practicing, right? So, and they had a big thing about complete the past, which I'm now like totally over, because I realize from working with you guys in part, that's not a thing. That's just not a thing. And Jean said this thing the other night about integration. Like self-help, personal development is about integration and evolving. That's my new favorite word. I'm over transformation. I'm on to evolution. So that, we can evolve. And that's what I love about the compass is it really like gives you something you can put in your hand so that you can evolve, you can grow, you can integrate. And at this point, I had somebody invite me onto their podcast today, and they had I looked at their website, and as soon as it says, no, I'm going to fix this for you and you're going to get rich and you're going to, nope. Like that's one of my top red flags now. I teach this in the Safe Practitioner workshop too, for practitioners. I learn how to be safe and ethical practitioners. Stop promising big, huge things. Stop promising unrealistic things like you're going to complete your past. or that you're gonna, like somehow be different. No, you're going to be different in that you are evolving, you're maturating, you're growing. And it always includes where we have been, near as I can tell.
So I think there's a big difference between being told what you're going to get and giving encouragement to get going. So, like when I'm working with a client, I'm not promising them anything. I'm promising to be there for them to help them get where they want to go.
Yeah.
But I'm not telling them making any promises about where I think they should go.
Right. Or threatening them.
Right. Oh, yeah, right.
That's the other side, Ginny, threatening them that if they don't work with you, their life's going to hell in a handbasket and they're going to end up blah, 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 because that's the two sides, right?
Yeah.
You can't afford not to do this.
That's right. Right. You're worth the investment,
Worth it.
And then as Jean and I have often talked about, we are so bad about asking for money because we're like, well, like if you can, that would be like great, if you could help support. And I found that, trying to do fundraising, I'm a nightmare because I'm, saying, well, your family comes first, so be realistic about your budget. And I mean, I do this with clients too. And someone said to me once, don't you want to get paid? I'm like, well, yeah, if you can,
I
mean, it's not too much trouble.
I describe both of you and Dad. I tell people, my parents were like Atticus Finch types, like taking a bushel of peas for their services. So I came from that background, so I'm also shit at fundraising.
It's just
asking for money.
So anyway, gang, if you're watching this live stream, go ahead and toss us a few shekels. This is
if you can.
Our annual fundraiser.
I got it on the first try this time.
So what we would love to see happen with the compass. I would love to see the compass become the kind of thing like, so I run and I use an app for tracking my runs and stuff. And my run tracker app has become, I use Runkeeper, like my run tracker app is an essential tool for that really important thing. I think people's self-help journeys or their personal development journeys are a similar kind of thing. So I'd love to see the compass become the kind of tool that you wouldn't think about seeking without. And insofar as that's true, I would love to see it eventually become an app or part of an app that people would have access to all the time, and people could kind of keep track of the various self-help projects. Right. And how they align with each point of the compass and stuff. So, I mean, that's something that we certainly see in the future, but for the immediate future, I would love to just get it into more people's hands.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
like one of our, yeah, exactly. So one of our commenters mentioned that, they're interested in the compass tool, and we ran it. We have offered like a workshop kind of thing for it. But we have to put a cost on that kind of stuff because it costs money to run like webinars and things. So they found it was too expensive for them. So yeah, we were very much interested in at least being able to give, I don't know, a downloadable thing or something, simple and easy. We can just give it to people for, a very small accessible amount, and then kind of scale up, further if you want to join a workshop where, you'll also be able to chat with other people and play around with, share ideas with other people and collaborate a bit, which can be really useful having those conversations. It can be a real enhancement. But nevertheless, we do want to be able to kind of offer it at a lower accessible point, and then a few other options. I'd love to see just like a printed copy as a pretty notebook you could play with, because that's fun too. So yeah.
I actually have as the person it brought me on because I'm like I operationalize everything that everybody says like in my head instantly. But yeah, I'd like to, from the new website, I think we can make the workbook, the PDF available pretty much right away. And then we could do. Jean and I are. We have to just schedule a date and do a program, and we'll record it, and we'll make that available at a really low cost.
Exactly.
And for sure, anything that we do is as much of the, we just take the cost of producing something, and then the rest goes right into Seek Safely. So as a competition.
Yeah.
So, and then the live interactive work together workshop. Kind of a 3-year thing. I think we can probably do that in pretty short order. We're pretty much almost ready now that we got the website up. And
yeah, you bet.
Yeah. Big hikers years ago always had their compass, and we rely on navigation systems now. And sometimes we don't even know where we are in space because we're just following the voice on the phone. And sometimes they are just wrong. Sometimes you have reached your destination and it's in the middle of the highway and you're nowhere near the person's house, And I remember one time it was directing me east instead of west to the same address, and it made me think of this compass tool that when we just completely rely and believe on a system, that's just easy and quick and fast. It doesn't necessarily mean it's really always going to get us exactly where we want to go. And we have to be able to advocate for ourselves and figure out, where am I in space? So that I can know whether, yes, this is accurate. These directions are accurate. And I think the same thing goes for our self-help journey. That too often we just completely give over ourselves to someone who sounds intelligent, is maybe very likable and charismatic, and seems to have knowledge and is kind of impressive. And I'm just going to follow that along. And I don't have anything to help me check myself to make sure this is where I need to be. And that's really, I think, where the compass can be very helpful for people.
You bet. That kind of segues into something else I was thinking about, the future of the org, and that's the future of the podcast. So Jean and I have covered just a wide array of things on our podcast related to the industry and safe seeking broadly. So we've talked about documentaries that have been out. We've talked about personalities in the field. We've talked about kind of trends in the field. And Jean and I are always talking about kind of what the next iteration of the podcast is. Something that we're going to kind of double down on in this next era of the pod is, what does safe seeking? Did I just say safe seeking? Safe seeking.
Safing. I don't know.
What does safe seeking actually look like? Right. So we're going to be looking into having folks on the pod who have actually utilized these tools, who have signed the promise, to kind of operationalize, as Anne likes to say, operationalize. This is what this looks like in the real world. We don't want, so we have these various tools. We've got the compass, we've got the promise, we've got the red flags. If you go to the seeksafely.org website, you'll find our lists of red flags that we've
red flags and green flags
and green flags,
for that matter. We want those just to exist in the abstract, right? We want them to be tools. And so something that we as an org are going to be talking about, something that Jean and I as podcasters are going to be talking about, is what does that look like in the real world? So we can offer not just kind of some hypothetical models, but some lived experience models.
Yeah. And that's something else. So we have run, and has been helping us run a few of the safe practitioner workshops now, which is exactly that. So, from the self-help practitioner, the provider's perspective, we have the Seek Safely promise, which is the commitment that self-help practitioners can take to operate in an ethical way. So the workshop is all about operationalizing those tenets of the of the Seek Safely promise.
And a bunch more. When we've done 2 of them live now. There's one available right now, the best of the 2, the recordings you can get right now off the Seek website. You can get those. But it was neat when we did that, because it was more than just like, okay, how do I bring integrity? Well, integrity in what? My registration practices, my facilitation practices, my marketing practices. And we had like almost 50 people on across so many disciplines. It was really cool to have that, because like we had a gal who was a lawyer whose job it was, I can't remember what state, but for some state, but she was trying to come up with the guidelines for plant medicine for some state regulatory guidelines. And so she was on with that. There's, that's a fairly new, talk about wild, wild, wild west. And then there were, coaches, personal coaches, and there were, wellness instructors, and there were so it was neat because the whole group had so many different kinds of self-help. Gene, you talk a lot sometimes about how it's hard to define it exactly.
Yeah.
So having that group go through each of those tenets and then discuss, what does that actually look like?
Right.
What are my safety protocols? And it was great for practitioners. They learned a lot of stuff they didn't know. Several people, they didn't know that they have a duty of care responsibility when they are facilitating. And I host events all the time. So I'm like, how do you check your venue? And what kind of questions do you ask the venue? So it gets really practical, really practical as we looked at each one of those things. And it was neat. We'll do more of them for sure. We'll be scheduling more of the live ones, but you can actually get the recorded one right now.
Yeah.
That is all just so consistent with my values. Like, it's one of my big pet peeves when folks talk about these principles and they're abstract. I used to have a supervisor who was very well known in the trauma field, who was very good at talking about high level trauma work principles. But when it came down to what does this look like every day, didn't have a whole lot of balance. And so my material, I work really hard to I'd call it street level trauma and addiction recovery. And this is what I my vision for Seek is I want it to be street level self-help journeys. Right.
Yeah. No, that's good. And because I think, some of the information that we've put out there, we do keep it pretty high level so that different people can, kind of take a look at it and then sort of try to grapple with it. But the idea of, really being able to have conversations where people can get into these details and then taking that feedback, having the Safe Practitioners Workshop, like you're saying, Anne, with all these different types of practitioners, things will come up that we will never have thought of.
Right.
So it's that that collaboration and that feedback is so valuable. So that's been very exciting to be getting into that.
Yeah. And you have done just such a remarkably good job at doing that and reaching so many people with those principles and really helping them operationalize the principles that we put forth in our mission. So
I'm pretty passionate about it after meeting you guys, but even before that, meeting you was an expression of kind of a waking up myself in 20 years of training trainers. And, one of arguably one of the largest self-help personal development seminar companies, operating in 44 cities around the world. So not anymore, but they were at that time. And I got a little bit of training inside that organization about what to do if something went wrong, like if somebody had a well-being issue in a course or whatnot. But in that sphere, not only is there very little training about kind of what to do about things, but you just can't even imagine it because you're a good person with good intentions. And you spend hours and hours and hours in these organizations as practitioners, as facilitators, training yourself because you're so moved and inspired and you're going to make such a difference in the world. It literally does not occur that something could go wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it just doesn't occur. And that's why I have such a passion for training and really bringing the seed alive in the practitioner body, because they don't, it's kind of, I hate to say this, but they don't know what they don't know until something really bad happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even when you hear that it happens, like, oh, you know, what's his name? I'll leave it to Glenn to say his name, but what's his name had that happen in a lodge in Sedona or whatever. But that would never do that. That would never happen.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm working right now about setting up a ranch for events, and I keep telling him, I'm like, nope, you can't do that. Nope, you can't do that. And he's like, why? And I say, because you don't have the right safety protocols. You don't
Right.
like. Let me just speak your language. You're going to lose your ranch. You know?
Yeah. So it was interesting. A couple of years ago, we did some workshops for yoga practitioners.
Mm-hmm.
So people training others in doing yoga, and invited them to look at the promise and to see how it was. And they got into huge discussions about people being touched and the assumption that, well, I have to get them in a right posture. Well, again, if someone has had trauma experience in their life, that's just not okay. That is not okay. And there were people there who were like, really? You shouldn't do that, you know? And it was really very interesting that, first of all, you need to be properly trained. You need to be upfront about your background and what you're doing. And then you need to be respectful of your participants, not pushing them into things that might be dangerous for them, or they simply don't want to do. So it was really interesting that, like you're saying, Anne, things came up that people hadn't really thought about as a violation, because I'm just trying to help people. Yeah, but that's not help.
I am pretty dang committed that we can have the Seek Safely movement become a competitive advantage for practitioners that are willing to do the work, to just kind of confront the possible dark side, I call it, right? Like, and willing to actually wade into that a little bit and see where their weaknesses are. I mean, we do that in the compass, right? Isn't that one of the compasses? What are your weaknesses? So you have what are your strengths, but what are your weaknesses? But practitioners of self-help and transformational work and all that, they don't look there. I've spent 20 years, they don't look there really, other than in some of the most like we know, we always had this thing about sleep. We had to make sure people slept, you know, which is rich given they have to be there at 9 a.m. and stay till midnight. But there was a whole policy that came in at one point because they really recognized that no sleep was really a problem. I'm doing this neuroscience year-long certification neuroscience coaching program right now, and they keep making this point about, oh, sleep is a thing. But so they made it so the leaders had to end at 10, which they did sort of most of the time. But the looking a lot was for liability risk, not really looking for the good of the participants. Is it unless you happen to have a facilitator?
I need to see
that way. Yeah. Would never occur.
Right now, I have members of my audience going, sleep is a thing. I'm going to be the one survivor who's going to figure out how to work my recovery without sleep. I'll be the exception. You won't, gang. You won't. If you think you're the exception, you're not. You're not.
I feel like sleep is one of those things that so many people kind of overestimate how capable they are of going without. Kind of similarly to how there's studies have shown people like really overestimate how good they are at multitasking, whereas it's only really like 4% of the population are actually capable of like true multitasking. I think sleep is like that too, where everyone's like, you know, yeah, sure, 7, 8 hours, but like I'm really good with like 6. I'm fine.
Right.
I think a lot of us are actually,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh my gosh, I got it. That's why I wasn't with you guys Tuesday night watching, because I got a really up close and personal look at how much it matters. Because I only slept, I think, 4.5 hours and 48, traveling from Greece through Istanbul home. And I had it all timed so perfect. So it'd be right with my circadian rhythm and all this stuff. And I didn't sleep on the plane. But I got home, I slept. I'm like, oh, I'm great. Get up Tuesday. I was bananas. I was like, by 3 o'clock, I'm like, okay, you just have to go to sleep. So I did pretty much. And then I woke up Tuesday. My whole life was ending. Everything was messed up. My new house wasn't getting built. Business was failing. I was totally screwing up the summit. Seek Week was going to be everything was horrible. It was terrible. I got a good night's sleep, got up Tuesday, and I was like, oh, I'm okay. Like, life's okay. And then, and I had all kinds of ideas, and I sat down, got to work, and I was fine.
It's amazing.
Well, sleep is rough too, because I think folks who struggle with sleep are I mean, this is kind of a tangent, but folks who struggle with sleep, they are used to thinking of it as a skill issue. So if we struggle with sleep, I think we talk to ourselves about it as like, well, okay, I suck at this skill. And here's the thing, like a lot of if we struggle with sleep, that's not down to a skill issue. It's really not. Like frequently we've been conditioned to not sleep very well, to have certain attitudes about sleep. We're not really taught how to sleep well, right? There are all those things that go into it. So when I say, hey, sleep is important and you need better sleep, folks are like, what do you mean I'm not good at sleep? That's kind of like telling someone they need to be a better driver, right? I'm a great driver. I am not a great driver, by the way.
We kind of put that on people from the time they're babies.
Yes.
Oh,
right. Sleep hygiene. We call it sleep hygiene.
Sleeper. Yeah.
We call it sleep hygiene, for Christ's sake. I mean, come on.
I hate that. I hate that word, actually.
Well, I think, again, pulling us back to our focus here on going into the future.
Sorry. I did not get enough sleep last night, so.
So maybe that's why the focus is getting low. But I like what Glenn is saying and what Anne is saying is a big focus for this coming year is taking a lot of the information that we've gathered for education and really making it as accessible and practical and able to be used to really enhance people's journey and also to enhance their ability to help others so that the help that is coming from their heart doesn't get messed up along the way because of what they don't know.
Yeah.
So because I think often that can happen. So I love this emphasis of coming into 2026 that we want to make things practical. We want to make it accessible. And we want people to be able to take the principles and the ideas and really be able to live them in a way that makes their life better.
Yeah.
So I think another thing that we have in the hopper that we're talking about is putting together a whole day that will be that we're working on that hopefully maybe will happen, I don't know, maybe in the spring. Where we bring together some speakers and have some workshops, maybe some breakout situations so that, again, people can take these principles and really own them so that they can use them and make them real in their life.
Are you talking about like the summit? A live one? That sounded like the live one, which is our dream. We're doing an online one.
Right.
Coming up in the next, it was scheduled for November 8th, but we haven't talked yet. I want to push it out just a little bit. But then that's all building to a live. Like that's my is that we can come together for a weekend or whatnot and really have that opportunity to meet, hang out together, start there in live would be great. But also to people who are survivors, practitioners, can come together and really engage with each other. Dream.
So these are things we've been talking about and working on and trying to put together, but they need to be promoted. We know what we want to do, but getting them marketed, getting them promoted. And again, this goes back to why it's so important for us to be fundraising, so that we have the ability to be able to do that, so that we can get these ideas and these principles out to more people, to actually have them in their hands so that they can use them, and that it can make a real difference for them.
Yeah.
Something that we have consistently found is that when people are exposed to our message and our tools, they resonate profoundly. Like, it has been almost never the case, with the exception of one James Arthur Ray, it has never been the case that people hear about our org and roll their eyes. Almost always people hear about our org and kind of get into the material that we've made available and that we discuss and listen to our podcast and like, yes. And in fact, it's often the case, folks hear about us or hear our podcast. It's like, this is the piece that's been missing from my journey or from the industry, et cetera. So our purpose has always been kind of twofold. One, it is to develop these tools, these personal development tools that for safe seeking, but also to communicate about the industry and to raise awareness of kind of why these tools are necessary. I think we do an awesome job, again, with the tools that we've developed. I think we do an awesome job at that. I think our challenge has always been getting our message out and persuading people that it's worth caring about. Because one of the, Anne alluded to this a moment ago, like one of our big challenges has always been no one ever thinks they've got the questionable self-help guru. No one ever thinks it's going to happen to them, right? Like they said, they hear about Seek Safe and they're like, well, thank goodness I'm hooked up with the one good one, right? We've taken big steps toward making people care. I think the podcast has been huge in terms of making people care. And because before the podcast, getting our message out was always kind of a problem, right? Like we did, we got speaking gigs where we could get them and we worked our social media presence, et cetera. But I think getting the podcast out in a regular way and growing an audience for that podcast, which I'm really happy with kind of how that's gone, has made it possible for us to be in people's ears, literally in their ears on the regular. Thing is, that is by far the most expensive part of what we do. Producing the pod, right? And it's also the most important part of what we do.
So hit that subscribe button. And hit that little thing up there
with your
I love
with
it
your friends.
in the middle. Yeah, there you go.
QR code.
Yeah.
I can't do it from my box.
I don't know if it works.
Am I doing it from my box?
Which box?
Is that right?
Yeah.
I'm doing it from my box now.
Well, Glenn, to what you just said, I just really, I say this whenever I talk to you guys or whatnot, but, for me, I found you when I was sort of starting to realize the organization. Well, first, the source, the founder of the organization, who I had hosted a little comeback tour for, is probably engaged in some really bad behavior, harming people and whatnot. And I thought, I'm going to warn the organization about this, because they were retying themselves to him. And then I found out after I wrote my book about that experience of kind of waking up to that I just raised all this money and really supported and had given so much of my life and energy and efforts to build up something in somebody who was harming people. And that is just like a no-go for me, when I found that out. And that was really an existential crisis. And then to find out that the organization that I was a part of was very, very much had internalized a lot of those practices and harms. And anyway, what I've found out in the last year has just been devastating. And throughout it, one of the lifelines for me has been Seek Safely, because when you start to find that I love personal development. I love transformation, evolution, whatever, spiritual maturation, whatever. I am a lifelong learner. And I thought I was going to have to give it up. I was going to have to give it up. And, because I can't trust myself. And that was, so when, it was actually a reporter that was talking with me about all this stuff that, introduced me to Ginny. And when I met Ginny, I was like, oh my gosh, you guys are talking about solutions, which backfilled for me hope. Like, oh, wait. It also made it safe for me to wade into the dark side as I have over the last several years. So when did I meet you guys? 2022-ish or something? I don't know, something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
But since then, I've had to have the courage to actually really look at my own industry, at the company I gave 20 years of my life to, the literally hundreds of people that I've worked with that are amazing, that really want to change the world, but are doing some things that are harmful, and they don't even know they're doing them. And part of what's given me the strength to confront that and talk publicly about it and whatnot is Seek Safely, is knowing like, oh, wait, okay, one, there's people out there that honor and respect the difference that self-help makes and that personal development makes, and says it can be done safely, and let's roll up our sleeves together and figure out how and what that looks like. And that has just been just an extraordinary gift.
Oh, you bet. A couple of years ago, Jean and I did an episode of the podcast about a guy named Peter McWilliams.
It's a really good one.
You remember this, Jean? And he wrote, Peter, the short version of that story was Peter was a self-help writer in the late 70s, early 80s he was desperately depressed and he got sucked into a cult in Southern California. And the cult leader convinced him that Peter, was dying of AIDS. But if Peter would only put the cult leader's name on the books that Peter was writing, that the cult leader would use his magic powers to keep Peter alive. And at the time, Peter was all in because he was in a cult. And when Peter came out of that cult, he wrote his famous series of self-help books. It's called the Life 101 series. He wrote a book titled Life 102, What to Do When Your Guru Sues You, about getting out of the cult. And it's a fantastic book. It's not in print anymore, but if you can find it on eBay or something, I highly recommend it. It's a great book, Life 102 by Peter McWilliams. Anyway, in that book, Peter kind of wrestles with this whole, with what you're talking about. He's like, look, I'm a personal empowerment guy. That's how I got sucked into the cult. That's how you got sucked into the cult.
That's right.
Right. And he wrestles with, what's baby and what's bathwater in the self-help, personal development, empowerment sphere. And something that I've always really loved about our org is it reminds me of a facet of something I teach about boundaries. Like I teach about boundaries so boundaries are a bitch for trauma survivors. And because we think we're being mean and we think we're being, nice people don't say no.
Don't know where they are.
Oh, big time, right? But the truth is boundaries are teaching others how to love us. Like boundaries are teaching others, if you we lay down boundaries because we want to continue a relationship, not because we want a relationship to end. If we want a relationship to end, we just end the relationship. If we want a relationship to continue and to have it be safe, well, that's when boundaries come into play. So boundaries are actually quite a loving thing. I think of Seek and the self-help industry in that kind of relationship. Like we are proposing boundaries. We are proposing guardrails, not because we want people to not seek. We want people to seek. We know people will seek. We're realistic about that. We want them to seek safely. We want there to be boundaries and guardrails so that you can continue going to the seminars and reading the books and being inspired by your favorite self-help guru. And that's something I really love about our org is like we're not saying the whole thing sucks, don't do it. We're saying do it intelligently, right?
Yeah.
I feel like I had an aha moment the other night I don't remember which session it was, but when we were talking about toxic positivity, and the sort of like folly in the idea that being positive means not ever acknowledging that something is wrong or bad. And then we kind of came to this idea of like reframing what positive actually means. Positive means kind of growing and creating something, and moving in a positive direction, which can't happen if you ignore something that's like detrimental. So I think that maybe we should make that a theme this year, is redefining what positivity is, because
100%.
yeah, it's that people do identify that a lot in, when people talk about the bad things in the industry, talking about toxic positivity. I think we need to define what real positivity is. And I think it's what we have always been doing, this, effort to look at the industry, articulate the issues with it, and then from that analysis, you can figure out how to make it better. And that's what we've always been after.
Well, that's the theme of the
that's
summit.
positive.
The summit this year, building solutions. To me, that's the pinnacle of what that is, what Seek is about, and why there's a lot of brave people, important people that are out there talking about the problem. And we need that. We need to keep talking about the problem, because I have found out there's a lot of people that still don't know the problem. So we need that, but we also need that North Star, like that.
Yeah.
Okay, what are our
Absolutely.
solutions? And so that's, in the Zoom summit this year, we'll be talking about that. And if we get to a live one, Ginny, I love the dream. Like, let's have it happen. It would be so good.
Yeah.
But I'd love to see that theme like go on throughout too. So, and that's a big part of building the solutions too, is defining, there's defining what it isn't, but what is it?
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, you need both sides of it. It's really easy. I mean, we could just talk forever about what the problems are in the industry, because there are so many examples of them. But yeah, that next step of okay, what do you do with that information? How do you make something better when you truly believe in the potential of the industry? Yeah, that's what we've always been after. That's what I think we are going to focus on this year.
It's not quite as sensational.
Sorry.
It's not quite as sensational. That's the challenge. That's why we need folks to contribute and become a regular contributor, because we don't have the sensational, big, yucky, scary, terrify you step. Well, we do, but anyway, we're moving on. So
well, every now and then,
that's been a thing. I remember Ginny talking about that. Like, I want to talk about the bigger stuff, not just the bad moment.
You bet. Yeah. Well, every now and then we get feedback to the tune of, on your podcast, why don't you talk more about like get into the real gross exploitative stuff, and why don't you kind of become one of these podcasts, of which there are many, that exposes self-help grifters and bad guys and whatnot. There was one proposal that said, you guys could be the Consumer Reports of the self-help industry. And we've always resisted that, because one, that's actually not what we're about. I mean, we're certainly about raising awareness. Yeah. But if we got too fixated on like the
vetting people,
like the bad guys, that kind of misses the point. It's the bad guys are there, but it's not, we're not, like, we've never really positioned ourselves as a watchdog.
Yeah. And also, Glenn, because we also recognize that what works for one person, this is true in therapy, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't necessarily work for somebody else. So someone can listen to someone and really get a lot out of it, and not have to necessarily give up their soul, to follow that particular person. But they've learned something, and it's been a good experience. So it's a two-way street. It's the practitioner learning to be safe and ethical, but it's also the consumer learning to pay attention to themselves, to take what they need and want, not just what is being thrown at them as they must have.
Yes.
Helping people to, really be able to do that is so incredibly important.
Absolutely.
Well, and I always say, because just trying to get rid of the dangerous or predatory practitioners, that's like whack-a-mole. Like, there's always going to be some. And it's not a leveraged way to make a difference. It's as consumers, and part of even my passion for practitioners is I think some of the most exploited consumers are practitioners. I mean, as you should see my inbox just from today, the amount of people that want to sell me some solution to something, as you know, I build a coaching business or as I'm building my platform or whatever. I mean, I'm constantly being bombarded with, you know, all that. And it's really hard to wade through, but it's like, as consumers, we have to learn how to see what we're looking at when we're looking at a predator, when we're looking at somebody who's using manipulative tactics. That was what was hard for me. Is like, how could I have not seen? Because once you see it, then you're like, what? So that's a phase of recovery, is going through that. And then, you know, but once you kind of move past that, then it gets really fascinating. Like, well, wait a minute, what? Tell me more about what that looks like. Wait, you know, and yeah, it's a long process. It's not quick. I hosted a group with Rachel Bernstein last night. We had the fantastic conversation in our session about moral injury, which is a whole side I hadn't even
100%.
I'm feeling, but didn't really understand. Like, what did that mean, and how does that work? And that's something I think that a lot of us are experiencing just in the world right now, as we watch a lot of things happening that really violate our values and what we think is important in society. We're experiencing a lot of moral injury. Well, I didn't even know that was a thing, but I definitely knew I was having an experience. I know I've got upset and, you know, whatever. So as consumers, we've got to learn, and that's where Seek Safely, I think, really well, like at helping educate consumers. Just telling you the bad stories, it's entertaining, kind of.
Well, it's yeah, and there's this thing that happens that I've noticed, and I know I sound like a broken record with this stuff, but so Seek was founded in the wake of a horrible thing. Keith Raniere was sent to prison after a horrible thing. There are horrible things that happen.
Yeah.
But one of my ideas for a podcast episode that we'll eventually be doing is we're going to title it "Nexium was gross before DOS." And James Arthur Ray was problematic before Sedona, right? Even if you took these spectacular news-making events out, like there's this misunderstanding that Seek exists to prevent these big tragedies. Yeah, we want to prevent the big tragedies. That's true. But kind of the point, and this kind of goes back to what we were talking about the other night about how, you know, in the early days of the organization, you guys started digging into the industry and saying, wait a minute, even if the Swell Lodge hadn't happened, Spiritual Warrior was still terribly exploitative, right? Like Nexium was still terribly exploitative. And so one of the reasons why we resist the temptation to turn either the org or the podcast into kind of a, you know, a more entertaining direction, I suppose. Right now, our producer is listening to this going, would it be bad to be a little entertaining? Would that be terrible? But one of the reasons why we resist that is because kind of philosophically, we want to drive home the point that it's not actually about entirely the big tragedies. Like, it's about the mode of operation. It's about the culture that makes those big tragedies, as you pointed out, Ginny, inevitable, right? This was gonna happen. Yeah.
Right.
I will say, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I feel very hopeful about this coming year. And part of it is because of our collaboration with Anne. And, you know, just the reaching out and collaborating with more people who understand the issues and are willing to embrace our mission.
You bet.
You know, as a way, as Anne points out, you know, as the solution to a problem that they know is there. So I'm very, I feel very hopeful about our future, and part of it is because of you, Anne. So I want to thank you for that.
Yeah.
I'm just excited to put my powers to use for good people. And no energy drinks, Glenn. I literally happened to be listening to the podcast right when Jean texted me, and all of a sudden, let's do this shout out.
Anyway.
Okay, take it away, Jean. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. So, on that note, that's kind of a little bit of what we're looking to do in the future here at Seek. And so, if you do want to Hit us up over there. Make a little donation if that's in the cards for you. That's
Why
amazing.
can't I do this? I can't do it.
You got to do it the opposite way that you think you should do it.
Oh, really? So if we
Yes,
go,
yeah, exactly.
I don't
It's
know my
on-
left and right to begin with. It's
It's
very hard.
on our left on the screen, but
That's
it's
right.
yeah.
It's on the
Don't
right.
do the that's it. Glenn's like, I'm not even trying because you
I'm
guys
not
look
even-
ridiculous.
Anyhow,
Well, folks,
So-
folks can subscribe to the podcast,
Yes.
follow the socials. We are we're doing there's a bunch of stuff going on in the background to get things more streamlined. So we have emails, more, all kinds of stuff. But in the meantime, yeah, follow the socials and check out the fresh new website. You can
Mhm.
send me contacts of any buttons that don't work.
Yeah.
and there are lots of ways to support the org. You can head on over to my page, the Dr. Glenn Patrick Doyle page. You can, there's my Facebook fundraiser is there front and center. You can contribute to that. I'm going to be doing a live stream after party like I do every night after these things, and head back to my page and you can contribute there in the chat. You can go to our website where you can either contribute once or you can become like a monthly contributor. We have a few folks who have done that. Thank you so much. We love you guys. We love you, love you, love you. But one of the most important things you can do is, you can follow our work. You can subscribe to our pod. You can forward episodes of our pod. Because that's really the voice of our org. That's how you know kind of what we think, what we're thinking about in the org and what we think is important and how we can support you. We actually want to support you in this journey. So you can support us. We can support you. It will be a virtuous circle. And we love you.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody. Thank you,
Thank you.
Anne.
Thank
Thank you, Mom Ginny.
Thank you.
Thank you, Glenn.
Thank you, Gene. New
And,
episode out next week, gang.
Yes.
Okay.
We have, that's it. We'll be
Great.
there.
Everyone
right.
have a great weekend.
Yeah. Hey, happy
Thanks.
Thanksgiving to any Canadians who are watching. Because
That's true. It's Canadian Thanksgiving.
Canadian
Happy-
Thanksgiving.
Yeah. That's right. All right. Thanks, everyone.
Gene, what are you grateful about?
What am I grateful about? I'm grateful that they don't actually say a boot. It's more like about. It's like a closed back in there somewhere in the mouth.
Gotcha.
You know what? I'm grateful for. I'm grateful for the opportunity to be here, to be sharing ideas with people.
There you go.
I have a lot of ideas about, I've kind of struggled over the years. Sorry, I'm just extending this now, but
we love it. We love it. I'm constantly trying to get her off topic on the podcast just to talk about stuff like this. So yes, go.
I have a lot of things that I've always been passionate about in my life. We had a horrible tragedy that suddenly diverted my attention to something that I wasn't really thinking about a lot on a daily basis.
Yeah.
I've really come to appreciate more and more how the self-help industry is a reflection of our society in many ways. And so I think there are things that we can do in talking about the self-help industry that are really about society at large and that are, can touch on lots of the things in the world that need improvement. So I'm excited and I'm grateful to be part of that conversation. And I look forward to getting down to it with everyone.
When are we going to see the Self-Styled Life, the book?
I don't know.
Come on.
You know what? The next podcast episode we're recording, though, Glenn, I told you it's about climate change, and I have some incredible ideas about that.
You've been very high on that for a minute. I look forward to hearing it.
Oh, I can't wait to
how does self-help and climate change relate to each other? I've got
Gene's
ideas.
got us covered. We love it. All right, gang.
All right. Thank you, everybody, so much.
I will see y'all on the Dr. Doyle page here. Give me about 10 minutes or so.
All right.
Okay. Good night, everyone.
Night,
Thank you.
Happy Seek Week.